At around 4 p.m. today Indian time and 12:30 p.m. Central European time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's special aircraft touched down at the Orly airport in France. He is the guest of his friend, French President Emmanuel Macron. France is honouring Prime Minister Modi as the chief guest at Bastille Day, 14th of July. The high watermark of the French Revolution that gave the world an immortal slogan: liberty, equality, fraternity. But this visit of the Indian Prime Minister perhaps needs an amended headline: liberty, equality, fraternity and security. Just have a look at what's on the agenda. A slew of big-ticket security deals that will be setting new benchmarks for India's strategic ties with France. Over the next few minutes, we discuss this and more. I'll start with his arrival. Prime Minister Modi was given a ceremonial welcome at Orly. On his way to the hotel, he was greeted by members of the Indian diaspora in France. They waved flags and chanted slogans. At 7:30 p.m. IST, the Prime Minister attended his first engagement, a meeting with the President of the French Senate. And as I speak, he is preparing to address an Indian community event at the iconic La Seine Musicale in Paris. It will be taking place at around 11 p.m. IST, following which he will be leaving for the Élysée Palace for a private state dinner with the Macrons. It is expected to begin at 12:30 Indian time. And on the 14th of July, the Prime Minister will be beginning his day by attending Bastille Day celebrations as the guest of honour. Now remember, this is a visit high on both substance and symbolism. Firstly, because it marks 25 years of India-France strategic relations. The two sides are expected to release a vision statement celebrating this time-tested partnership. And the second reason is the timing of the visit. It may be noted that France does not invite an international dignitary for Bastille Day every year. Such an honour is carefully calibrated. The last time this happened was in the year 2017, when US President Donald Trump was invited. An Indian tri-services contingent will be a part of the Bastille Day parade, while the Indian Air Force aircraft will be performing a flypast on the occasion. And now comes the real substance. India and France have set ambitious objectives for their relationship. And at the heart of this is defense, backed up by cooperation in space, geostrategy, digital economy, infrastructure, energy, climate action, museology, student mobility, people-to-people ties, sports, culture. Not just that, separate joint statements are expected on the Indo-Pacific. Now, if I speak of digital economy specifically, reports say that France may be adopting the UPI, India's Unified Payments Interface for faster payments. In fact, the two leaders will be discussing this launch during their interaction, which will be along the lines of the India-Singapore fast payment linkage. Remember, this was a deal earlier this year when UPI and Singapore's Pay Now signed a pact allowing users in either country to make cross-border transactions. The National Payments Corporation of India and France's Lyra have been working on something similar for a year now. And if they strike that deal, then France will become the first European country to have UPI. The second major focus of Prime Minister Modi's visit will be clean energy. Remember, back in 2015, it was in Paris, from where Prime Minister Modi launched the International Solar Alliance, a body which today has over 100 member countries. And reports say the focus this time will be on green hydrogen, renewables, batteries, and small modular reactors. And for this, the two sides are working together on the Jaitapur nuclear plant in Maharashtra. There will be technical discussions on the 8,000-page techno-commercial offer made by France in the year 2019. Now, that said, the biggest focus perhaps of this visit will be defense cooperation. India and France are set to sign key agreements that would pave the way for new fighter jets and submarines for the Indian Navy. And this, by the way, includes the procurement of 26 naval versions of the Rafale fighter jets made by France's Dassault Aviation, and 3 additional Scorpion submarines that will be made jointly by Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders and France's naval group. India's Defence Procurement Board has already cleared the acquisition for both. As per a report tabled in the Indian Parliament, India has just 31 fighter squadrons against a sanctioned strength of 42. This number is not expected to go up in the next decade, but on the contrary, can go further down by 2029. And this conundrum gets even worse, by the way, when you look at how India is positioned. Have a look at this map. China in the north remains a perpetual threat, of course, and Pakistan remains a perpetual nuisance. The Indian Air Force could get constrained and overstretched in case there is a two-front war. So what really is Pakistan's capability? Let's just talk about that. It has over 22 frontline squadrons operating from at least 13 flying bases. The main combat fleet consists of F-16s and F-17s. But things get complicated when you add China to the equation. At present, the Chinese Air Force has over 48 squadrons that include multi-role fighter jets. Besides this, there are an additional 9 squadrons of A-10 jets. Of course, China will deploy only a part of its air strength against India in any situation, but that remains formidable. China, in fact, has over 100 combat aircraft deployed in Ladakh. India, with better positioned bases, can put over 250 aircraft in the same area. China cannot deploy more because it just has 3 airfields here. But in case of a two-front war, it is hard to predict what the real scenario might be. India's task is not easy, but the acquisition of 26 marine versions of the Rafale is a huge step in this direction. It will bulk up its strength in another critical area of defense, the Navy. It should be remembered here that the Indian Navy scored decisive victories in the 1971 war that crippled Pakistan's naval base at Karachi. And the Pakistani side is already spooked, by the way. In fact, it has even issued a statement on the deal, saying that it is watching the developments very carefully. What does that mean? Was Islamabad watching the developments carelessly all this while? Maybe its attention was diverted by the virtual civil wars at home. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.